They always say we're going to learn lessons so it doesn't happen again. It's scandalous that this has happened. They're putting them at risk and so on and so forth. We need to make sure that the people are better protected. We need to make sure that appropriate human rights across the board are working on that sort of basis. But why? Why give them potential to cause injury in this way?
It's not a hotel. You don't get coffee and tea facilities. You know, just if they want tea, they can't just have them lemonade or something. You know, why should they be able to make hot drinks?
But anything that could damage or injure somebody
else, or be made into a weapon.
Of course it is. And as you say, we only just heard the recent case of that, where somebody received very serious injuries. They're looking to this, but what I would urge them to do, don't just pay lip service to learning lessons, do something about it, because other prisoners will be having these in their room. You've got to work out on what basis, what happens now, and absolutely you've got to make sure it's humane conditions for everybody. But if
I don't see why I should really have Hugh after what he's done. I mean, what is going on in our prisons? Apparently it's all, you know, the guards are coming from... There's a guy, I saw an investigation the other day, he was given, I think it was for the Times, and he basically applied for a job, got a job immediately with the prison, no experience. They didn't even search him when he was going in, so he could have took a lot of the contraband goes in. So our prisons are falling apart. Where's our prison minister? Why aren't we solving all this?
We need to look at lots of this. There are also people in prison who shouldn't be in prison, like the whole free speech thing we've been talking about, and those who should be in prison who aren't. So we need to look at this whole system. Whilst people are there, we need to make sure that the system is not only fair, but fair to everybody involved. We need to make sure that people are not at risk of these sort of things.
What about, I mean, do they have too much of a good life? I know we believe in all this human rights thing, but shouldn't they have a tougher time in prison? Because it seems like they're having a bit of a whale of a time.
Well, there's two things, because at the same time, well, not all of them are having a whale of a time, because I think you've got reports like people of Tommy Robinson,
well, obviously
who apparently
he's a political prisoner, isn't he?
This is what they're saying, and as you know, on my show all the time, we've got people coming on and saying, well, look, Tommy's a political prisoner, we should look at those sort of cases. What we need to do, justice should be blind, and it should be blind to all of these sort of factors. We need to make sure that people are treated fairly in an appropriate way.
But you're a lawyer, right? You're a barrister. What is the rules? Because Tommy Robinson was a civil case, and he's got basically...
It's crazy. I personally think he's a political prisoner. I personally think the punishment does not fit the crime.
Well, he's in solitary confinement, which you're not allowed to put them in for that long, but they get around it by saying he's being segregated.
No,
but still solitary confinement.
Sort of stuff. All of his supporters, and there are zillions, they'll all be tweeting inappropriately and supporting him. It is a political prisoner. I think it's wrong for him to be in the current conditions.
Can you imagine if something happened to him? What would happen outside on the streets?
Absolutely. And the support for that sort of side is tremendous. So we need to make sure that our justice system is looked at in an appropriate way. We need to make sure that people are not put at risk in this sort of situation, but at the same time treating people humanely.
But what did you think about a week ago? They came out and said this Southport riot, a judge looked at it and said, no, it was nothing to do. They weren't far right. It was spontaneous. It wasn't planned. Keir Starmer was talking a load of crap when he said they were far right, and it was all I mean, he's really... Don't you think he actually prejudiced the court cases? Because all these judges then obviously got the message from Keir Starmer and gave them massive, ridiculous sentences. And their defence lawyers told them not to plead guilty. And then the ones that didn't plead guilty, they actually got thrown out of court. Why were their defence lawyers so badly? And shouldn't they be able to appeal because of the crap defence?
What Keir Starmer should do now is apologise.
Yeah, well, he's not going to do that. He should have apologised to the Supreme Court.
People turn around and say about far right, it's far left, isn't it? Work on that space. Sometimes being right so far rather than far right. You need to turn around. There's an issue in this country, and part of the issue, as I highlighted at the beginning of this hour, is that we haven't been able to speak freely